Dennis Prager here, speaking with Lee Habeeb, whose piece in Newsweek is awesome. That term is used constantly in America. I mean, if you just say, I would like French fries with my hamburger, they go awesome. it's it's the substitute for the word okay or fine. But this piece is awesome. He's thanking the Democrats for all the things they did to make this election possible. So you were mentioning, Lee, that when you were a kid, young people voted for Reagan, contrary to everything everybody would think. And it turns out young people voted for Trump. Yeah, we can't hear him.
Remember that point I made about the shared experience of Americans, right? And ultimately, there was an inchoate feeling amongst many of us. We didn't talk about it a lot. There weren't huge rallies anywhere. We didn't have all the technology we had. We loved our country, Dennis. And the idea that we fought in Vietnam to take over the soil of the yellow man in our imperial quest to dominate the earth meant you knew nothing about the communist takeover of much of the Asian continent. And we didn't think that was good. And ultimately, common sense prevailed because the left went so far to the left that it pushed us into the Republican arm. And they were wide open. In other words, we didn't become Republican because we chose the ideas. In the end, we lived the shared experience of leftist ideas. And they're so terrible, they drove us straight into Republican arm and to this guy, Ronald Reagan, who had a better vision for the future than the dim, dark reality Jimmy Carter was peddling.
Well, there is, I read left-wing stuff as much as I do, or maybe more than I read conservative stuff. So the where did I get this? New York Post reports that Joe Scarborough, quote, ripped Democrats for being afraid to, quote, offend some small subset of their base by speaking out about illegal immigration and transgender issues. So the liberal, there are no courageous liberals except for Alan Dershowitz. He's the only courageous liberal I know. Right. There are many courageous conservatives, because it takes courage to be a conservative in America today, certainly in the public sphere. But what is happening is there's a civil war now on the left because if Joe Scarborough is ripping the left, that you made it impossible for us to talk about immigration, an open border, and having men play against women in women's sports. You lefties made this impossible, and that's why we lost. However, there are just as many voices on the left saying no. It's that people are racist and misogynist and they wouldn't vote for Kamala Harris. So since you're so good at predicting, and I mean that sincerely, which army is going to win on the left? Those who say the left is killing our party, or those who say we are the left and we are the party?
Bill Clinton paid a visit to the University of Virginia Law School, and Laura Ingraham and I were there in 1988. He was the governor from Arkansas, and no one knew him nationally. And we went to a diner after a really remarkable talk he gave on the Constitution. And he talked about the Democratic Leadership Conference, which he led. And he talked about how he was an Arkansas kid, and he knew guys who fought in Vietnam. And indeed, the Democrat Party had been taken hostage by the leftists. He spent a decade trying to pull the party out of the clutches of the far left. I think it's worse now for them, because if you remember, the Vietnam War was a student-led rebellion. Now those students are the faculty, Bennett. They're entrenched. Every MSNBC pundit is the leftists. Even the never-Trumpers were aligning themselves with leftists. So I think it's going to be harder for them this time than it was last time. Just think about their number one funding source. It's the teachers' unions. So if they really want to go after this systemic problem in their party, they're going to have to cut off their number one funding source, a source they've been working on, well, since my dad was a superintendent of schools in New Jersey in the 90s and watched the graduate schools of education become breeding grounds for Marxism. See, they've been at this for 30 years or 40, Dennis, as you talk about. That's going to be that's going to be hard to unravel. The monster they created, their Frankenstein, is going to be hard to kill.
That's right. That's exactly right. Listen, Lee, we're not having great sound with you there, so I'm going to let you go now, but we'll resume it either today or another day. I feel terrible because I adore talking to you, but we'll have to fix it, the audio here. Folks, we're putting up Lee Habeeb's piece up at DennisPrager.com. Let me read to you a little more of it because it is so brilliant. It so summarizes what the left has done. He's thanking the Democrats for making the Trump victory possible, which is absolutely accurate. But you must understand, just as I said to Lee Habeeb, I don't know if it's the dominant. That's why I'm hesitating. I don't know if it's dominant. I think it is. The dominant explanation for the shellacking, the unforeseen shellacking that the Democrats took last Tuesday, the dominant explanation is America is racist and misogynist. They would not vote for a woman of color. I'm actually happy they believe that. It's bad. It's a lie. It's stupid. But the more they believe their own rhetoric, and the arch pathologic believer in lies was now voted to the U.S. Senate from California, Adam Schiff. He will be among those to ensure that lies are believed among his fellow Democrats. That is what he does for a living. I rarely attack the character of public figures, but he's loathsome. My state has elected a loathsome human being to the U.S. Senate. I believe, and I've never in 40 years described anyone in public life this way. He's a pathologic liar. He doesn't know that he's lying. All he knows is, what can I say that works? And when you have people like that in power, then you will just say Trump is a Nazi. But they have pushed young people, male, female, Hispanic, more black men than ever, into the Republican camp. And I'm not sure they'll leave the Republican camp. This may not be a one-off thing.